The games are over.
The game is over.
And now it's time to look back at what went right and what went wrong. This is your Sunday morning podcast with Hans Olsen, Scotty G, and Lloyd Cole on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome in. It's another edition of your Sunday morning MAP podcast. It may be week 11. I'm still trying to figure out the new name. Scott Garrard, Hans Olsen, Lloyd Cole, and Utah flat out dominates Cincinnati, our only FCS in-state game, and Utah just does the damage, Hans. It's not even close. Utes just threw the Thor of Hammer down and made a big statement yesterday.
It was great, man. That's an amazing win. And holding Brandon Sorsby to 11-33 is very impressive. They held him to 1 touchdown, 1 interception, which is extremely impressive with the numbers that he'd put up coming into that game. Utah's trenches on both sides, I mean, their offensive line put together a full game, in my opinion. I felt like that was a complete game by the offensive line. They gave up exactly 0 sacks. They limited the TFLs. They allowed for 270 yards rushing or 280 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the ground. I felt like that's the most complete game we've seen from Jaron Kump, Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomo, Michael Mokafisi, and Tagiai. It was just awesome up front, guys. So a completely just dominating performance by the trench.
Yeah, that was a much better defense that they went against than they did against Colorado, and to rattle off 267 yards rushing with Wayshawn Parker leading the way with 104 yards and a touchdown. That was impressive.
Well, you look at what Cincinnati's done coming into this game. They beat Kansas. They beat Iowa State. And then they beat Central Florida, which they should. They beat Oklahoma State, which they should, and then they beat Baylor 41-20. I mean, they beat Baylor by 3 touchdowns, and then they run into Salt Lake City and just run into the buzzsaw, and Utah just destroys them. And it was good to see from a Utah team that, look, last time they were on the national spotlight, they got embarrassed against Texas Tech. But, Hans, you and I have been talking about this. Now you look at the schedule for Utah. They've got a bye week, so they can rest up. But they're at Baylor, who this team you just played beat Baylor by 3 touchdowns. Then you've got Kansas State at home, and then at Kansas. I mean, we're looking at a situation here where Utah very easily could run the table.
Those are all 3 very, very beatable teams. But the problem is Utah needs help. You know, Texas Tech has to find a couple of losses. And I think that's going to be really tough. After watching today, I watched that Kansas State-Texas Tech game yesterday very, very closely. And Texas Tech is the real deal. And they are the real McCoy. I don't know what happened with them against Arizona State. I'm going to have to go back and watch that game to get ready for this BYU-Texas Tech call. But they had no business losing to that ASU team. That's a very, very good team. So Utah's going to need a little bit of help. I think BYU can win. I think BYU can absolutely beat this Texas Tech team. And Utah really needs that. And then one other. Houston, of course, falls today, which is really good for Utah. Yep. And Houston will probably fall again because they've got Baylor and TCU to finish off the season. And after watching them stumble today against West Virginia, that's very capable or very possible. So Utah needs some help, and they'll probably get it. They need BYU to beat Cincinnati and give Cincinnati another loss. Otherwise, Cincinnati stands as a 1-loss team as they kind of roll through the conference. So Utah needs a lot of help, but it's pretty discouraging at times when you're watching a team like Utah beating Cincinnati 45-14, and it wins in between. They beat Colorado 53-7. They beat Arizona State 42-10. They beat West Virginia 48-14. I mean, they are dismantling teams, And then there's that loss right there to BYU, 24-21, and that loss to Texas Tech, 34-10. It's strange. Now, I will say those two losses have one thing in common, and that was Devin Dampier's health. Devin Dampier had a bad ankle against Texas Tech, and he re-injured the ankle against BYU, and they were trying to find anything that would work, and they just couldn't find it. And the last couple of games, Colorado and Cincinnati, it's been a really nice mix. Devin Dampier picked it up against Cincinnati, and Bert Ficklin was phenomenal against Colorado. So I think you've got a couple of quarterbacks that can get it done. But the thing that's frustrating, guys, is this Utah team is too good to be 7-2 or 4-2 in conference play. They're just too good, and they've stumbled a couple times. And BYU was fantastic against them, and that was a tough environment. But this is a really good Utah team, and one of the points I wanted to make in this Sunday morning podcast was I think Utah's probably BYU's best win at this point. Because Iowa State lost today, whatever it is, four losses in a row, or four losses in a row now for them. Arizona is very mediocre. West Virginia, very mediocre, even though they got a nice win today. Colorado's terrible. That Utah win is your biggest win if you're BYU by quite a stretch. And now you got to complement that with these wins against Texas Tech, TCU, Cincinnati, and UCF as you kind of move forward.
The interesting thing here is if you're a Utah fan, you may actually, because you look at Texas Tech, hands, their schedule remains after that BYU game. Let's say they beat BYU, then they've got Central Florida and West Virginia. They're going to go 2-0 in that stretch. So if you're actually looking at this from Utah's standpoint, you may actually want Texas Tech to beat BYU because the likelihood of BYU picking up another loss is certainly higher than Texas Tech picking up another loss. So you've lost the tiebreak. You've lost the tiebreaker with both schools. So if you want to knock a team out, you might be needing BYU to lose because
the problem is BYU would have to lose 3 and Texas Tech would have to lose 3 because if they each had 2, they've still got.
Oh,
the
that's right. Yeah, I keep
Utah,
spacing the BYU's undefeated. That's right. BYU does. Texas Tech's got the 1 and BYU doesn't have the loss yet. Yeah, you're right. So
basically, the bottom line is it's not easy for Utah.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be easy.
Nope.
You're going to need something weird to happen with Texas Tech. You're going to need them to lose to BYU, and then they're going to have to lose one to West Virginia or Central Florida.
Yeah,
you've got to get one.
Yeah, so BYU, there's not 3 losses there for BYU. There's 1, maybe 2, but and then with Texas Tech, I just don't see where they pick up another loss. If they lose to BYU, they're running the table against Central Florida and West Virginia. So, yeah, good luck there. Yeah, that's not, and that's the sad thing, too, because Utah right now is playing, if you look at Arizona State with their loss with Texas Tech's loss to Arizona State, you could make an argument that Utah's playing the best football in the conference right now.
They're playing some incredible football. Let me go through a couple of the tiebreaker policies. So, first and foremost, the tied teams will be compared based on their head-to-head record during the season. So that means that they, even if everybody ended up with 2 wins, you go to Texas Tech and BYU both got the win over Utah, right?
Yep.
And then it goes, the tied teams will be compared based on win percentage against all common conference opponents. So that's the number 2 tiebreaker is win percentage against all common conference opponents. And then number 3, the tied teams will be compared based on win percentage against the next highest placed common opponent in the standings. based on the record in all games played within the conference, proceeding through the standings. And it goes through 6 different tiebreakers here. But it's really mute because Utah's lost to the other top 2 teams in the conference, in Texas Tech and BYU. So like you and Lloyd have said, it's going to take some real work because there's no way BYU's got 3 losses in this thing. It's going to be really tough for Texas Tech to find 2 losses in this thing. But we've seen stranger things happen, guys.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, that's the beauty of college football is crazy things can happen. But, Lloyd, when you look at this game, I mean, we wanted Utah to dominate. They came in as a 10-point favorite, so obviously Vegas thought very highly of Utah in this game. But the thing was, and we kept saying it with Coach on Friday, leave no element of doubt early. Put your foot on the throat. Now, it was 7-7 and then became 14-7, but there was a stretch there where it got pushed from 24 to 38 real quick with the punt return, and then it was just lights out at that point, 45-14 your final.
Yeah, they really I think I even tweeted that out. I was like this thing went from they were up 24-14. They got that touchdown to Whitmore, and then that kick return within it's like 45 seconds, and it was see you later in that from that point on. And I'll tell you what, the defense, sure, guess what? They didn't get to Sorsby. They didn't sack him. They did force some turnovers, which he hasn't done, but that defense was phenomenal against Sorsby. I mean, they really started putting some hits on him where he started to have to get the ball out quicker, and by the way, it was some good. I know John Henry Daly, he limped off the field. He eventually went back in. They had a couple of players that got a little bit banged up that ended up coming back in and playing. So that was some. Bray limped off, and he came back in, so that was some good news because it was looking like the Utes might be leaving that game really hobbled, but they got some guys back, and I'm telling you that defense was flying around. It was good to see.
You go back to the ugly interception that Dampier threw at the near the goal line, and it's like, here we go. Cincinnati's got a little bit of momentum, and what does Utah
He only
do?
had 10 seconds back there to throw.
Yeah.
And then just like that, Utah's defense forces a 3-and-out, gets the ball back, and then Utah scores and then gets the punt return, and it's over. So, even when Utah's offense kind of struggled a little bit, the defense said, no, we got you on this one, and pretty much just shut the door at that point when it could have been easy for Cincinnati to carry some momentum and take it down the field. Utah's saying, no, not going to happen. And the defense has just been phenomenal this year. Just incredible hands.
Yeah, they've been amazing. And, the other thing that's really starting to surface, guys, is they've got a bell cow at the running back position.
Yep.
Where Wayshawn Parker went for 145 or 150 against Colorado and then went over 100 again last night against Cincinnati. They've got themselves a bell cow, and Wayshawn is the real deal. He's electric, and I think he's really good in Wildcat. I think he's really good just when he's offset the quarterback. He's good in mesh decisions. He's really powerful. You see his downhill. He's very, very powerful, and people might think, he's a transfer and he's only got 1 year left. The kid's just a sophomore. So he's got 2 years of eligibility after this left. So you'd like to see him surface as this bell cow. But I think more than anything, and I started out the Sunday morning podcast with it, this offensive line was phenomenal. They were so good. Their pulls and their counters and their wall-offs, their zone stretch, like everything that they were being asked to do, they were jacking dudes up. And you go back to that play that Lloyd just talked about where he said Devin Dampier had 10 seconds. That was a 5-man rush by Cincinnati. That wasn't a 3-man rush. That wasn't a drop 8. A lot of times when you see a guy have 10 seconds and finally fling it up, a lot of times it's a 3-man rush. That was a 5-man rush. They were bringing heat. They brought an extra defender to try to get there, and this line picked them up. So I'm just overly impressed. They're answering the call. Now, we're going to see, is it too late? I don't know, but they just got to take care of their own business and see if the chips will fall. But they have really come together to make Wayshawn Parker as valuable as he's been too.
And a lot of that thing has come with, Wayshawn Parker being able to do what he's done has come with the health of the quarterback. Like he's had some decent games, but you haven't seen him really have a game like he has since, you had last week against Colorado when you had Ficklin to being able to do what he did. It opened it up for Wayshawn Parker. And then, a healthy Devin Dampier this week, it really opened up for Parker as well. Like, I think the health at the quarterback position has really helped.
Oh, there's no doubt. And
by the way, did you see the hit? Did you see the hit that Ficklin took last night? Did you see that hit that he took at the 1 yard line?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Spun him around, made him dizzy. What's crazy? He stayed on his feet and got to the end zone. Crazy. Crazy hit.
For somebody that size should not be able to stay on his feet. There's no way. It's crazy.
There were a lot of big performances last night. A lot of big performances. I loved what J.J. Buchanan did. I loved one of his catches was just phenomenal. Ryan Davis continues to be the lead receiver and the top dog. He's so good in his routes. Daniel Bray was fantastic, both in the rushing game with a big run up the sideline for a big first down to a couple of his receptions. That 21-yard reception that he had was awesome. I just felt like some dudes really stepped up. Now, it does go back to what you were talking about. It's nice to have a healthy quarterback. And Devin Dampier went 16-31 and was great at times outside of that interception, man. That should have just been an easy 3 points. Just bury that thing. Don't put that thing up there. Just bury it. Get the 3 points. You go up 13 at that point. You feel more comfortable, but it all played out the way it needed to play out. But I just felt like there were a lot of great individual performances. I thought Lander Barton was spectacular last night. Now, Lloyd's right. Defense was kind of held at bay, but they really wanted to contain Sorsby. That was their whole goal and whole point defensively last night was just contain Sorsby. And they did that. By and large, they did that. Outside of the one run that Sorsby had in the first half, guys.
The 22-yarder for a touchdown.
Held in check.
Yep.
Yeah, outside of that, there was nothing. And I also think a lot of the defensive mindset, well, no, I don't think it changed. I think that he was lucky and slipped a gap, and that was a really nice run for him. But I think that the defensive scheme, from what my eyes saw watching the game, was all about containing him. So it wasn't about getting after him. It was about keeping the pocket contained, forcing Sorsby, and making sure you're shrinking the pocket. And then you saw this, guys. Was it 4 batted passes or 5 batted passes?
Yeah, 2 on the
one
first.
One of the batted passes.
2 or 3 plays of the game.
Yeah. So that was the other tactic was press lanes, get hands in passing lanes, bat balls. One of the balls batted off of his offensive lineman's head and landed in Smith Snowden's hands, and that was a great pick. But I thought the defense did exactly what their game plan was and what they needed to do.
What have you seen from Morgan Scalley? We talked about that Colorado game where he called an angry game plan against the Buffaloes, but obviously you got horses defensively, but schematically it looks like Utah's just really ramped things up too. Yeah, get that bucked up.
I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed. And what this showed was they can do it in so many different ways.
Yeah, that's the thing. The diversity is what's really impressive.
Yeah, there's plenty of different tactics and forms and ways that they can find ways to win. That's why you just hope that this season isn't cut short for Utah, because this is a really good team, and you want to see them maxed out, and you want to see them healthy and continue to push, because it just feels like it's a really good team. And you mentioned Morgan Scalley going to a different format defensively. Let's talk about Jason Beck, man. His play calls were off the charts, and there were so many fourth downs. What, they have 3 fourth down attempts in the first drive, guys? I think it was 3. Was it 2 or was it 3 fourth down attempts in their first scoring drive.
Yeah, it was. They had a couple.
Let me see if I can find it. Well, they went 2 of 2 on fourth down, so I think both their fourth down attempts were in that first drive or that first scoring drive. Like, Jason Beck did a fantastic job of keeping it fresh, a couple of the throwback passes that he had. I thought that the Devin Dampier dive to pop pass was a beautiful call and beautifully executed. So I also think your two coordinators are in a groove right now. And I just really want to see them have the opportunity to max this team out.
Good time for a bye week or bad time, Lloyd? I mean, this team's cruising. They've got 2 back-to-back blowouts, but at this point of the year, you want your guys to be healthy. A week off is certainly going to help in that regard, but, man, there's a lot of momentum brewing with this squad.
There's a lot of momentum. I mean, it's always good to have a little break, later in the season, especially November. But I don't know. They've got something going right now. I feel like Hans will probably disagree with me, but I feel like them going right now. I feel like a bye week comes at a bad time. Like, they're rolling right now on defense and on offense. Like, I feel like if the team if they had the decision to be like, you know what, you guys want a bye week or do you want to play? They would say, let's play, let's go.
Yeah, I agree. They're on a heater, just whooping Colorado and Cincinnati. It's almost like that rivalry game has pushed them into a fever, and they're irritated, and they want to find a way to get back, and they're motivated, and they're healthy. You know, I think having Devin Dampier play, and they were saying at the beginning of that broadcast that he was about 90%. He looked pretty darn good in his runs. In his decision-making, looked pretty darn good. So if he's 90% and still 90% and maybe even moving into 95% as they head towards Baylor, I would like it just to go. Just get right into it. But this is going to give Devin Dampier a little bit more time to heal up and get his situation feeling better. You know, who else are they needing to get back? Vakalehi, it'll be nice to see him get a little bit of time. They haven't ruled him out for the season, have they,
no.
Lloyd? So there's a chance to get Dallas back? Yeah,
there's a chance to get a couple of guys back. I think Dallas being one of those. I don't think he's been ruled out, but yeah. So it might be good. Maybe it's good to get a couple guys back, but they are. But like I said, they're rolling.
And you talked about John Henry Daly going down in that game and coming back. He's going to need a little bit of time. Smith Snowden. I know Smith Snowden's dealing with a pretty tough situation. I know he's fighting through pain. So it'll be nice for Smith Snowden to have an extra week. Yeah, Scotty, to your point, I wish that they were playing because I feel like they found their groove, and the coordinators in a groove, and their calls are fantastic, and their game plans have been fantastic. But now you just have to max out the benefits and get ready for this 3-game finish.
Mm-hmm. We'll continue to break this game down coming up on Monday. Remember, Utah's in a bye week, so Lloyd, I'm assuming no Kyle Whittingham tomorrow.
I would assume we will have no okay, all right. I assume that we're going to take a whole week off.
Because this would have been a classic okay day.
Yeah.
I will say that the game day was amazing. I felt like Utah put on a show, man. I felt like the state of Utah put on a show. Utah fans put on a show. I thought that they were fantastic during that game. The noise that they made on that punt return, jeez Louise. When that punt return found its home, that's probably as loud as Rice Eccles has ever been. So I liked the game day, the whole game day environment. I liked the way Utah represented. I love that their fans showed up and were crazy and influenced this game. I thought overall, man, it was just a great day.
Big one coming up this week, Hans. BYU. You'll be in lovely Lubbock coming up on Saturday. An early morning kickoff, 10 a.m. here Mountain, 11 a.m. Central, where you're at. And after what you saw Texas Tech do today against Kansas State, winning that game, I want to say, 41-20? You look at that game and you're like, All right, Texas Tech's not messing around. They're ready to go. They'll be playing at home against BYU. BYU is going to come in with a big target in their back. And who knows, we may find out later today if there's a big noon or a game day at that one, because that might be your premier game of the week, too, across the country.
The BYU Texas Tech?
Yeah.
It's already announced game days.
Yeah, I think they did, actually.
Oh, did they announce that already?
Night. Yeah.
They
announced
did.
it last night.
Jeez.
Game day is going to be out there partying, and it's going to be, I think it'll be the game of the week. And BYU's just going to have to put together their best game plan. I did feel like Kansas State played a pretty terrible game, man. Some really dumb decisions, and as much as I like Avery Johnson as an athlete, I think he's too unpredictable as a quarterback and makes too many mistakes. And there were a lot of bad decisions. So, and I don't think that score reflected just how close Kansas State actually kept it at times. I felt like Kansas State was very much in that game.
He just gassed himself, man. He ran so much. He was gassed in the fourth quarter. He had no energy left.
And I just can't believe Texas Tech's punch on the ball. I can't even. They're tied for the number one team in the nation for forced fumbles. And we saw it at Utah, and then we saw it against Kansas State, where they'll come in on a tackle, and they just know how to punch the ball. And they force a lot of fumbles. So BYU's going to have to be ready to clamp down on the ball and be ready for physicality. And then, what can you say? Their quarterback, Morton, has fought through injury. He's a tough guy, and he was able to fight back and make it through that Kansas State game, and not just make it through it, but he really flourished at times. He ended up 21 of 32 for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Baron Morton continues to be a problem when he's on the field and he's healthy. And I love Jacoby Williams. Their running back is one of the best running backs in the country, and he's spectacular. They did have they did have a couple of issues. They had a couple of guys go down injured, and we'll see if they're able to get back. But their leading sacker, who I believe he and John Henry Daly have been going back and forth in leading sacks in the country. His name is David Bailey. He's the 6'3", 250-pound senior that they use at the line quite a bit. He's got 10.5 sacks. He went down and was rolling around, but I believe came back and finished that game against Kansas State. So we'll get some updates on him. But they got a banged-up quarterback. They've got a banged-up linebacker. They've got a couple of other issues, and they're coming out of a really physical game where BYU's coming out of their bye week. And again, I don't know how much that makes a difference, but a couple of guys I expect to have back for BYU. I expect JoJo Phillips to be back. I expect Raider DeMooney to be back. You kind of hear the rumblings that Jack Kelly could potentially play. You've heard the rumblings that L.J. Martin could potentially play. I would imagine that there'll be questionable game-time decision type situations for both of them, seeing how nothing's been announced through the week. So those are all good positive notes potentially for BYU.
Before we wrap up, a shout-out to Snow College. You see this, Hans? Snow Badgers played Community Christian College today, who came in with a winning record at 4-3. Snow is now 4-4 after beating Community Christian College 101-6.
In basketball?
Football. The Badgers put up a century against Community Christian College. They led the game 67-6 at halftime, and ended up putting up 34 in the second half and winning that game 101-6. Snow College had 8 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 pick sixes, 1 scoop and score, and also notched up 2 safeties in the game as well.
I'm going to have to go check the box score because my nephew plays for them. Loki Latu plays for Snow, and he plays that safety position. We'll see if he was one of the pick sixes. I have not had an opportunity to see film or look up and see how Loki did, but good for Snow. They're not as good as they've been in the past. They're 4-4, you said?
Yeah.
Dang, they got some struggles. Another thing before we wrap up, I'm kind of sad you guys didn't give me a shout out on this Dodgers thing. I mean, I've put a lot of heart and hard work into being a Dodgers fan, and they won it, so that's good.
Yeah. I really thought Toronto had that there for a second, and then nope.
No. You would have thought when that ball in game 6 when it got stuck under the wall that they would have just let him play on, not call that a dead ball. It really seemed like the umpires want him to go a game 7. They've actually showed several times that something like that happened in other games this year, and they called it a live ball. But not in this one. They didn't.
11 innings. And it comes down to Will Smith on a home run in the top of the 11th, and then a double play to end it. I was watching it, and the announcer goes, "This could end," because they had 2 on. Toronto they actually had the tie run and the lead run on base, and the guy said, "The Dodgers could win it with a defensive double, and the Blue Jays could win it with a homer." And the dude's bat cracks in half. Sends it right to second. He tags and chucks, and it was game over. This series has been wild. You had an 18-inning game. You had this 11-inning game in Game 7. And, the wise words of Magic Johnson.
Stop.
Whoever wins
Don't.
Game 5 is really in control of this series. Yeah, you're wrong. And did you guys see CeCe Sabathia?
Yeah.
They're like 4 or 5 innings into Game 7, and CeCe tweets out, "Now definitely whoever wins this one is in control of this series."
Oh, man.
The freaking Blue Jays had it. They had bases loaded with one out. One out.
Why are you wanting – that's Canada. Don't you root for Canada?
I will,
no,
absolutely.
I do care.
When it comes against the Dodgers.
I don't care.
No.
I absolutely.
No.
Take that trophy to frickin' Canada. That's what I would have rather had happen.
Hey, how about you take yourself to Canada? You're going to sit there and
How about you take your fandom somewhere else?
No, I've
non-fan.
been
You're not
with
a
the
fan.
Dodgers through all their
You were
moves.
a Red Sox fan. You were a Red Sox fan this year.
What happened to the Monster?
What happened to the Monster? Come on, let's go check out the Monster.
Scotty, don't be a jerk, man. Don't be a jerk.
True. Scotty's
you
right.
You can't let me have anything. No, you can't let me have anything.
Don't look. I'm not catching strays on this one. You kind of put yourself in this one.
No, Scotty, I saw your dirty tweet.
My dirty tweet.
It's like, go Sox, go Sox. I'm sitting on the Monster. Go Sox.
Scotty sent out a dirty little tweet that said it's nice to see something nice happen for the Dodgers for once.
And Scotty is not wrong. Good Lord.
I mean, look, they're going to give us a work stoppage, so, you're going to go without baseball maybe for a year because of the Dodgers.
It needs
this
to
was
happen.
a scrappy ragtag
You shut up.
They paid $1 billion for this roster.
This was essentially the playback of Moneyball. And I want you all to admit it. This was a scrappy ragtag group that knows how to play really good baseball.
They make the Yankees look cheap. That's how much money they spend. They make the Yankees look like they're cheap.
Steinbrenner's somewhere in his grave going like, hey, they're spending way too much money on this team.
Easy. Wow.
I'm not going to let you guys do this. Not this morning.
God, I hate your fandom so much. It is so just annoying. Oh.
Well, congratulations to Will Smith. I'll take this W. I'm going to put another banner up here in the office. And I just couldn't be more happy with how this is going. Dude, Lloyd, you did not want Canada to win. Dude, that makes me really upset at you.
Yeah,
Gosh, I always thought you were a true-blood American.
They're actually a really cool story. I would have loved to see Vladi.
No, they're not.
Okay,
dude.
let's calm down a little bit. They had the 4th or 5th highest paid roster out there.
They did have the 5th. They had the 5th.
Yeah.
But, okay, they had the 5th highest, but still it was nowhere near the Dodgers. Like, they're not even the second highest wasn't even anywhere in the same ballpark as the Dodgers.
Man.
All right, so
had to turn to...
Are you just anti? I mean, were you for Toronto or were you just anti-Dodgers because of your Giants fandom?
It was a little bit of both. More anti-Dodgers, but
all right, okay, good to know. All right, well, anything else you want to get off your chest, Lloyd? Anything else you're angry about?
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. I'm glad my guys. Everything just goes hands his way. He's like the Dodgers. He's the Dodgers of sports radio in Salt Lake City.
Well, that's true.
Things just go his way. It's just never a bad day to be hands.
No, I just mean like our show. Like, we dominate, so, I mean, that makes sense. But we are scrappy. We are the lowest paid show, but we produce the best.
I'm like the Yamamoto. I'm the Yamamoto that steps up and freaking fights through Lloyd's cranky mornings and bad attitude.
More like Yakamoto.
All right, we got to end this because I'm not taking this, man. I do not like what you're doing, Lloyd. Cheering for Canada. I'm going to give you a wedgie when I see you. You better wear some strong underwear. Going to rip them right up across your back end.
Bring an extra pair on Monday, Lloyd.
You're such a bully.
Oh, you're a little Canuck. Gosh.
All right.
You're going to show up with a Justin Trudeau sweater. Be chanting, "Let's go, free healthcare." Dude, I'm not about this, Lloyd.
All right. Here's the thing. You got stopped at the border and got assaulted by Mounties, and you've been anti-Canada.
Yeah, I did. I had a complete cavity check. And then they laughed at me, sent me back home, and then the Americans laughed at me at the border. Like, why were you trying to go in there? It's like, I just wanted poutine, man.
The girl at Taco Bell said I would be fine.
Okay.
That's a true story, by the way.
This is getting off the rails.
She said I had an Indian shooting a star on my driver's license, and it got me into Canada for free.
That is not it. It was just the star. It's like if you had a gold star on your driver's license. We're not talking about the Tootsie Roll suckers, Scotty.
Just with Tootsie Rolls.
And by the way, you guys are both jackasses. She was the manager of Taco Bell. She was the freaking manager, and she was like late 20s.
That's not any better. She was a Taco Bell employee. What do you think she knows about border control?
Wait a minute. For all you Taco Bell employees, we think you're great, and we think you're doing a great job. We're not looking down on you at all.
No, I'm not. But she doesn't know anything about border control. I'm sorry.
Well, obviously she doesn't. Lloyd,
just like I don't know anything about border control.
She sent me into a 3-hour holding where we were removed from the vehicle. Like, it was horrible. Yeah, so no, I don't want any good things for Canada right now. No, it was horrible. They treated me terrible.
Yeah.
Or Taco Bell.
All right. Let's wrap it up. Hans and Scotty.
Please.
Coming up tomorrow, we'll break it all down. Utah blowing out Cincinnati. BYU, Utah State back in action. It's all straight ahead. Thanks for listening. Your Sunday morning MAP podcast right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.